Alright, and hello everybody, I'm the SweetBro27 and welcome to another Dokkan Battle video. We're going to be doing something a little bit different today for this little showcase thing here. Just want to see how you guys react to this, so skip to this point right here if you want to see the actual winning run. But I figured instead of just fast forwarding through all my failed attempts or whatever, because I did actually get this on my third ever try of doing this, and I was proud of that, so I wanted to show off the runs in their entirety. So we'll take a little bit of this part of the video to go over my team picks, explain why I chose who I did and what my strategy was, and then I will just cut out the commentary. I will make the background music louder until we actually get to the winning run. So let me know if you guys like that, dislike that, or whatever. So if you're sticking around, Full Power is actually a really powerful team, but with a semi-unfortunate leader. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, I am a huge fan of the Super Saiyan 4 Goku. The problem with him is the Oob transformation and kind of how, that works. You can't have two Oobs at the same time. Plus, this Omega phase, the Tech phase, has damage reduction against all types except for Int-type characters. So, Int-type characters do way more damage. Meaning, if I didn't get stunned, I was always hoping for a stun in slot 1. If that didn't happen, I was normally killing Omega immediately. So how did I kind of counteract that? Well, I brought a lot of stacking characters. So my strategy was to go as slowly as possible through this tech phase, literally like a snail's pace, as slowly as possible, and get both of my Oob standbys ready to go. Then I would launch one Oob standby during this tech phase and then kill him. And then in the turn 1 of the STR Omega phase, do my second Oob transformation. That way I would be able to use that massive defensive utility on that turn because STR Omega is actually really scary. I have struggled a lot, especially with my final trump card runs, which that video may or may not ever come out. I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do that. But obviously, having that capability was really nice. I came into this with a good strategy, and this is a very powerful team as well. So outside of having to run 2 of the Super Saiyan 4s, which can be a blessing or a curse just depending on how your opening rotations go, you do just have a ton of very powerful characters. Kai Goku, Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, Bird Ku, Orange Piccolo. You have, even though they're not out on global yet, the Super Saiyan Trunks and Super Saiyan Broly, who is apparently very good. LR Omega, Golden Frieza, LR Golden Frieza, Int LR Cell, Jackie Chun, Beast Gohan is on here as well. You have the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, Berserk Kale, Golden Metal Cooler, LR, or not LR, TUR Golden Frieza. You have Super Trunks, who I guess you could run in here because it's a longer event. You have 23rd World Tournament Goku, who I really did think about running, but I decided since I didn't have a revive on the team, Kai Goku would actually be superior. And you'll see during this run, I was really upset. There is a turn where this very first run ends. It is Kai Goku post-super attack with a million defense dying to a super. He took like 600k or something, which was really upsetting. Just throwing that out there, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But this is a pretty good team on both the villain and the superclass type. So let's just go over all the picks that we did. So obviously for our leader, we're running 2 Super Saiyan 4 Gokus. Now the other leaders you could have theoretically run would be the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Goku, which is the only other 200%, but what does he actually lead? Crossover, Full Power, and then Dragon Ball Hero. So I guess if you did want to run a full Dragon Ball Hero team, you could do that, but I don't know if you would want to do that. But that is an option. Again, this guy is very good defensively, especially if you're able to get that Oob transformation super quickly, and then you just kill everything with the Full Power Super Saiyan 4. Oob can be kind of scary in this event, though, if you don't give him his orbs, but it is super easy to get him built up, just 5 attacks. Again, you want to get stunned or sealed as much as possible in slot 1, so that you move as slowly as possible, so the rest of your team has just ample opportunities to build up. And then for my next defensive option, this team is super, super defensive. I went with Kai Goku. Again, it was up between Kai Goku and 23rd World Tournament Goku, but I didn't have a good revive on this team. I did think about running Bird Ku, but ultimately I was like, I don't really want to run the risk of that. So, He guards the first couple of turns, which really doesn't matter too much because of how slowly we were going through this. By the time we were at like STR Omega, even in some of these runs, by the time we were still in the tech phase, he had lost his guard. But he does have two very valuable defensive mechanics, or I guess a few actually. So he nullifies beam supers, which only is the STR phase, I believe. He gets defense when he gets hit 5 times, a massive amount of offense when he gets hit 9 times. He has the 59% HP recovery if HP is 40% or below once. And then he also survives KO attacks once per turn. So if there's 2 attacks in slot 3, you could put Kai Goku there and you would guarantee to live that turn. He has a decent active skill as well. It does mediocre damage and it does guarantee that he does a crit, which can be impressive once you get him to his massive attack stats. He was very nice to run. He's just a comfortable option to run. Although, again, you will see at the end of this run, he does actually take a super for 564,000 damage or something, which utterly blew my mind. But yeah, he's a very solid option that, like, despite that, I still am proud that I ran him. He did very great. Next, we have yet another stacking character, one of the GOATs of the game. We have Super Saiyan Gohan Youth. He was very nice to run, and he was one of the reasons why I didn't want to run Birdku, because I wanted to run this guy instead. It's because they both had the same condition for their guard, as being above 58% HP. Whereas, you know, Birdku, he has to, if he revives, he has the guaranteed guard. You always had to stay above that HP threshold for this Gohan. However, this Gohan stacks defense on both super attacks, as well as I think he just has naturally higher stats. So Birdku does have, you know, a revive, and he does have an attack break once per turn, after you get to, like, turn 6, I think, with his active skill. I just felt a little bit more comfortable running this guy, especially running him as a floater, because he does get, if you launch just, like, 2 or 3 additionals each turn, you're going to have way higher defense plus your guard than you would with Birdku, and I just had to play super safe, make sure I was never in a situation where he would be below that HP threshold, which we did a very good job at all throughout, and especially since he's an AGL type, he is super weak in this tech phase. He does like next to no damage. He is able to debuff as well because you're able to debuff Tech Omega, which just lets it go even slower. We take like no damage at all. And that's another reason why I ran Kai Goku as well, because going into the STR phase, they're going to be built up, and I'm not going to have to worry about AoEs. And then lastly, for like our really solid defensive options, we have Orange Piccolo. Now, Orange Piccolo, this isn't like his best team to run him on by any means. He is a character who would like much rather be preferred to be in slot 1. Because the full power Super Saiyan 4 was in slot 1 throughout the duration of this run. There were a lot of times where Orange Piccolo wasn't able to get fully built up before his guard ran out. So it was actually a little bit scary running him on this team. We do have a couple of bottom Master and Disciple category characters on the team, so we are able to get like his intro and everything. But he is very solid, and mainly we're running him for his active skill, which I always tried to save until we got to the end phase, but there were a few times where I had to actually drop it. You're seeing it right now, where I had to drop it during the STR phase because I am running 2 physical characters. But yeah, Orange Piccolo is still a god of the game, still one of the best LRs ever. But we're now on to our physical options. So we have up first the transforming Vegeta, who actually did a very decent job in here. But I think that was mostly because we literally, again, we went at a snail's pace. I tried to avoid supers every time I could with Super Saiyan 4 Goku. We had the 2 AGL characters, and then half the time I don't even think Orange Piccolo got a super on most of these turns. So it was really about going as slow as I could and getting as many defensive stacks as possible. He did pretty fine on his own. Again, he was kind of a fraud until we got to like the God Vegeta phase, but because again we went so slowly, that was very rarely a problem. The massive amount of orb changing he gets during his blue Vegeta form is actually pretty nice. It helped us build up a couple of Dokkan attacks throughout these runs because we went so slow we were actually able to launch a Dokkan attack, which is so rare nowadays. But overall, he was fine. The only main problem was if I got him on a rotation during like the STR phase, where I either had to kill STR Omega in like 1 turn, or I had to pray that this guy would have enough stacks to be able to survive. So it was a little bit scary running him. But then once we got to the int phase, he had type advantage. Normally he was in his blue form. He would have had like 700k-ish defense. He does really solid attack stats. Like he can get up to a 12 million, I think, with enough orbs. He was actually very impressive. Granted, if we ran him on this exact same team and I didn't give him a chance to build up, I would not be singing the same tune. But because of the strategy we incorporated, he did a very fine job. And then lastly, we have one of my favorite units to come out. Like, genuinely, I love this guy so much. The Crimson Masked Sand. So he is actually an offensive stacker, which isn't always my favorite, but he does do some very impressive damage stats during the later part of this run. We went so slow that he was able to transform super quickly, meaning that he has his guaranteed guard. He does a lot of damage. He does give us residual HP recovery, which is something that is always nice to have. He's very self-reliant as well. He gives himself a lot of ki and a lot of stats. If you have better HP, like the higher the HP you have, the better he does. He just does a lot of damage. Very rarely did I feel afraid with this guy. Although he actually does take some damage during the final phase against AoEs. It's not like a lot of damage. It's like 22,000 or something. But it is kind of scary to think that this guy who I have at a rainbowed percentage, but like pre-super takes damage with guard and type advantage. But that is kind of like the strategy that we incorporated. So we have a lot of AGL units to go super slowly through that first phase. We have a lot of defensive stackers. We tried to get Oob as soon as we could so we could have an Oob on both the STR Omega phase as well as having an Oob on the tech phase to wrap it up. A lot of guard, a lot of defensive stacking. We tried to go as slowly as possible. And then we had our get out of jail free card, which was Orange Piccolo. But with that being said, that was the full team rundown. So I am going to cut my commentary here. I'm going to make the music just a little bit louder until we actually get to our winning run, in which case I will commentate over that. right, so if you are just joining us, or if you watched all the runs, or I don't know, whatever, welcome. This is actually the winning run, and this is actually a no item victory, which is super rare on the channel, so I'm super proud that we were able to get one, especially against an event this difficult. So with the strategy that we have in mind, the start of this run, like against the tech phase, is going to be kind of boring. So again, I'm always throwing Tanabata Goku in slot 1, hoping that he can get hit 5 times. And every opportunity I get, I try to not get him a super, because I don't want to go through this event fast. I want to go slow. I want all these characters who need to get hit. I have to get 2 separate full power Gokus hit 5 times. I have to get Kai Goku hit 5 times. Orange Piccolo has to get hit like 6 times, I think, to be fully built up offensively and defensively. I want all these characters to stack. So again, this starting up phase is really long. A majority of this run is actually on this singular phase. But that is all because STR and Int Omega are such threats. If you watched the runs before, you just saw that like Oob, without the amount of orbs he needed, took like a 1 million damage super attack. Kai Goku, after being able to be fully built up and have all of his defense, took a million, or not a million, it took 500,000 damage with 1 million defense. There are a lot of like really scary, dicey situations like that. So every time there's a super in slot 1, I am always hoping for it to be a stun rather than a seal. Because Tanabata Super Saiyan 4 Goku, his defense is actually high enough with all of his damage reduction and stuff, that even without the multiplicative like defensive buffs, because he gets defense for 4 turns on his 18 key super, even without that, he is fine for most of the run. Obviously, like the plan is, like the strategy is, you want to finish Tech Omega with that 18 key. So once you go into the STR phase on the next turn, you have Oob on 1 turn, then that guy on the next turn, he has that little bit of extra defense, which is always nice to have. But yeah, I don't even really give Orange Piccolo a lot of supers because I don't want him supering. He doesn't stack attack or defense. He doesn't do anything. He just deals a lot of damage. And as you can see here, right out the gate, we were able to actually launch Oob. So what do? I'm going to kind of be a little bit cheeky with my rotations. I need Kai Goku to be built up as well. So I'm going to put him in harm's way, actually. And we're going to float off Oob, which is maybe a little bit foolish, but I float off the other Super Saiyan 4, so it's just kind of like refreshing my rotations. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter as long as I have one Oob ready to rock and roll and another Oob that is already transformed into the full power Super Saiyan 4. Now, this does do damage, and it is a stun, which is super unfortunate, because then obviously I'm not able to get a defensive stack, but we were able to get hit enough times for him to get that extra defensive part of his passive. And with just 4 more hits, he'll be doing a lot more damage. Like, he averages around like a 9 million attack stat throughout most of this run. And then we just have Oob in this final slot who takes no damage. And we also saw there that Super Vegeta got a couple of attacks off as well, so his defense should be kind of scaling pretty decently. So again, I'm in another kind of like dicey-ish situation where like I need to kind of float off this Goku. And he only has his extra damage reduction in slot 1, but again, he has type advantage, so it doesn't really matter. I just have to hope that there isn't a stun or seal in slot 1, because I actually do need this Gohan to get a super attack off, which we do. At the very end, you'll see that I have a very offensive build on this Gohan, which I kind of regret, kind of don't. I changed it to that build back before I had the 8th anniversary LRs. So for like that nuking event against the Kid Buu and the Omega Shenron, where you were supposed to use the standbys, I used Gohan instead, and I gave him a very offensively heavy build with a lot of additional and a lot of crit and not a whole lot of dodge, which he doesn't really like necessarily need dodge as long as you can keep him safe. I feel like in this meta, it is better to float him and give him a lot of additionals rather than to keep him on main rotation and hope that he does a lot of dodges. I think, at least in this current meta that we are in, I could be wrong because I don't really use him too much anymore, but he does have some really good skill equips and he does do a lot of damage. So we're in yet another situation where I just need Kai Goku to get as many hits as possible. Obviously, we are trying to sort of wrap things up at this point because, again, I about to have a full power Super Saiyan 4, and then an Oob is coming right around the corner. So I'm trying to get to that STR phase a little bit quicker now with a little bit more haste. We're taking another super here. I believe this is also another stun, is it not? Yeah, it is, which is super unfortunate. That guy Goku did not really get enough chances to build up, but that's fine because Orange Piccolo, he's getting a couple more of his hits in, meaning that, you know, we won't really have to worry about him too much. But as you can see there, his guard has already worn off, and we're getting even more supers for transforming Vegeta, who is the character I was the most afraid using, but he actually did very well for himself. He got to very high, impressive defensive stacks. He was actually he was kind of comparable in some situations to the Crimson Masked Saiyan, which was kind of a surprise, but that means that he actually did fend for himself pretty well because of how slowly we went. And speaking of the Crimson Masked Saiyan, he is now transformed, meaning that he has the guaranteed guard. He's going to be doing just a billion additionals. He has like a 10 million attack stat. This is where things start to go very quickly. We kind of hit the ground running. So now that we are transformed, we are in absolute God mode. I do want to get just a few more stacks for Teen Gohan there, so you see that I actually slid him into slot 1, because I know full well that he is dead this turn. Because the full power Super Saiyan 4, he's going to launch like an 18 million super attack. Omega no longer will have damage reduction against him, and I believe it's also a guaranteed crit his first transformation turn. I'm not entirely sure. I'm still trying to learn what Tanabata Goku does, but getting just those extra defensive stacks on that character is very nice, and it does just kind of comfortably help me stay above that 58% threshold. Now, that is actually pretty scary. I don't remember Omega dodging that. That's actually so insane. But yeah, as you saw there, he would have been dead. But that's kind of fine because, you know, we got some more stacks and we're going to get a couple more hits / stacks in on some other characters on this upcoming rotation. So maybe that was actually a blessing in disguise that we didn't kill him there. But you can just see just how swaggy the Crimson Masked Saiyan is, who also has a very offensive ability. He has like 20 additional, 3 crit, 17 dodge, which I kind of regret giving him. I kind of wish I gave him a little bit more crit looking back on that kit. But now we are fully locked and loaded, so we are able to do the Oob transformation. That means once we get into SDR phase, he's going to be ready to roll. We can get Kai Goku a couple more hits so that he can get to his offensive part of his passive, as well as getting another defensive stack. And we have the Orange Piccolo transformation in our back pocket now, because we have elapsed 6 turns without having 3 superheroes on the team. So we are doing quite well for ourselves. So we're actually going to kill on this upcoming turn because, you know, we did the transformation with Oob, obviously. We're not going to be able to kill on this turn, but the full power on the next turn should be able to get the deal done. That is so funny that I didn't remember that. Oh, well. But yeah, this does literally 0 because Oob is just a god defensively once you give him its orbs, because he guards and gets damage reduction for like each type key sphere obtained. So you do have to give him that, and that is only for 1 turn. He's one of those characters who you kind of have to like transform with as soon as possible, especially since again, I've never seen it, but it would be really heartbreaking, I feel sure, to fail the transformation condition and then just turn back into regular Super Saiyan 4 with 30% HP recovery. Like, that has to suck, especially since the power difference between full power and just like the base Super Saiyan 4 is massively different. So unfortunately we did get a stun there. Could have had another additional like stacks or whatever, but that doesn't really matter because now he's absolutely dead, right? Yeah, he doesn't dodge this time. This is a super amazing animation, and we actually get to see the KO screen, which is just, oh, that's so beautiful. So beautiful. So now we're kind of into the lion's den just a little bit, but it doesn't really matter because we're able to transform here. We do have a guard on our Crimson Masked Saiyan, so even though he will take damage, it won't be a lot. And we have type advantage with Kai Goku, so this rotation, even though it is a little bit scary, I don't really have much to worry about. I tried to save some of those orbs right there, those AGL orbs and those int orbs, so we could actually heal a bunch of this upcoming turn, because we will have Gohan and the other Super Saiyan 4. But we are entering turn 9, going up against STR Omega, which I would say I would recommend doing that. Go as slow as possible during this. I know it's a little bit boring and it doesn't necessarily make for the most interesting commentary or the most interesting thing to do, but you will be so much better off. Because again, like, this guy, I've only done my few attempts. Like, almost every single attempt I have done outside of my final trump card runs has actually been posted to the channel in some way, shape, or form. There was my initial video, which was nearly an hour of footage of just me trying and failing. And then there were these 3 attempts, because again, this is the attempt we do get it on. But like Final Trump Card, I've been doing it for the entirety of yesterday. I just stopped recording because I didn't have enough storage on my phone, but it was like 3 hours of attempts. And you saw there, post super attack, the Crimson Masked Saiyan took 100 1,000 damage on an AoE, which makes this STR Omega really scary. Because he likes to super in slot 1 and then do all of his AoEs, but he does raise attack for 1 turn. So these AoEs actually do like 685,000 damage, I believe. I think that's kind of like the realm that they're hitting at, which is scary even when you have a character who has guard, like the Crimson Masked Sand. He is only rocking like 270k defense at the start of turn. He does get a lot of defense on super attack, obviously, but you can't just reliably super against AoEs, which is, you know, that's the problem with the meta that we're in. There's so many devastating AoEs. But with like the movie Red Zone Part 2 that is currently on JP, it looks like we might be moving away from that meta and focusing more so on like bosses who just do like a ridiculous amount of damage, kind of like the Cell Max event. Because I haven't really checked out what Hirudegarn does, or I guess really any of them. I saw what Bio Broly did, and if you're able to do beam supers and he goes to his giant form, he does like a massive fuck off attack, but that's super linked to a fight. So I don't know what kind of meta we're going into, but it doesn't look necessarily like we're going to have to be dealing with AoEs. It may be like dodge nullification or something, or I would like to see Sealing again, like from the support memory event where you could get the 15% buff to Android/Cell Saga Extreme or Superclass categories. Like those, that Cell and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, like both of them, if you got tagged with their super, completely stunned that character for the rest of the fight. So that could be interesting to see. But now we're entering Int Omega, and this is the, of course, this is the turn where I cannot put him into slot 1. And this is the turn where he orb changes. So we launch the Spirit Bomb, does some decent damage. Of course, we have to put Super Saiyan 4 into slot 1 because he has the damage reduction. And he should be the bulkiest character we have on this team. Now, I know for some of the other runs, I actually checked out defensive stats. I don't know if I checked stats at all during this run. But, so let's actually see. Doesn't matter. That is the friend, so I don't know what the friend's build was. But I love dodging. Now, the Super Saiyan 4 would not recommend putting dodge on them, actually. Mine with just 5 dodge has actually screwed me over a lot, getting just like 4 hits. You can look at some of my other runs. I don't know if that's ever showed up on footage or not, or just like practice attempts, but there have been so many times I will be 1 attack away and I will dodge it with just 5 dodge, which is so frustrating, which of course can't happen in this Tech Omega phase because obviously he like nullifies dodge. But that is kind of frustrating that can happen. And again, look at that Vegeta. Even though, you know, he didn't get all of his orbs, he's still doing very fine for himself. He got a lot of stacks there. He did take, what was that, like 35,000 on an AoE, which isn't terrible, I guess. I obviously would prefer better tanking. But I kind of slept on this guy. I don't think he would be better in any event outside of this event. This is like the only event where I think he could really thrive. But he's doing decent enough for himself, and he is doing like a ton of damage on this turn. I only wish I could have put him into slot 1 to see like what his full potential would have been like, to just see him go crazy. But like, look at us. We're now on turn 12, and we are basically still at full HP, so I never have to worry about dropping below the guard threshold with Gohan here, which is super, like something I really didn't expect. I thought for sure we would drop below 58% HP at some point. That was a 3 dodge, by the way, right there. The Gohan against the AoE. Now, this is my Super Saiyan 4, I believe, so let's kind of see how well he tanks this. This is pre-super attack, and that's 400k. Now, granted, mine is 55% or whatever, but that should really show you just how hard Omega hits. I know this guy doesn't stack or anything. He does have the multiplicative 18-key super buff, but still, turn 12, 400k, and he has like 60% damage reduction or something. This Omega is actually super scary, and right there you saw that we took 70k on an AoE for the Crimson Masked Sand, which is another super scary thing. I thought we had lost on this turn. I really did. I believe we live with like, it's like 1,000 HP or something. Like, it is such a slim margin that we actually were able to survive. I don't remember the exact percentage, but just with how much damage that super attack did, like, it is super scary. Now, obviously, Crimson Masked Sand comes in. Post-super attack, he's going to be fine. He does get a ton of defense on his super attack, which is something we don't have to worry about. He does kind of fraud us out, and he does just give us 2 additional normals, which isn't my favorite thing ever, but, you know, it's just attacks. He does give us a 17 dodge, and then we tank that super well. And now, yeah, look at that. How little HP we had, 100,000. But we're able to finally do the Orange Piccolo transformation, and I am going to fast forward through this. That way you don't just have to hear me ramble on and on and on about, you know, just nothing happening. But as you can see there, I know it's flying by really quickly, but he's doing like 732,000 damage to Orange Piccolo, which you have to take into account like type disadvantage. That would mean that his normals would roughly be around like what? 650,000. I know I could look up the stats, but I kind of just like guesstimating. I would assume it's around 650 for his normals. But we absolutely waste all of his super abilities. So he isn't able to super us. He isn't able to AoE us. We are fine on this turn. I only really had to worry about Orange Piccolo there in the back because I did not know how many times he was hit. I do want to like... I'm also in a situation where I'm like, I really want to get same type orbs for healing, so I actually opt not to give Kai Goku a super there, because he doesn't necessarily need a super, but we are at a super low HP threshold, and it's kind of at this point, you can probably tell that I'm like, I have to try to get this no item run, because I wanted that no item run so badly, especially after my very first attempt where Kai Goku ended up dying. I was like, man, I was just I made like pretty much like one wrong move somewhere throughout that run, maybe wasting the Orange Piccolo against the STR phase, or I don't know what, but I could have no item that. So I was determined that not only was I going to beat this with full power, I was going to get a no item runs. And again, spoiler alert, you saw it in the title, you saw it in the thumbnail, this is actually a no item run. So of course, Orange Piccolo, he was fine. He I don't think he was fully built up, or he might have just been. I wasn't really paying attention, I'm being honest. My eyes kind of glanced over. So this is a turn where we actually are under the guard HP threshold entering it, but we are, I think it's fine because of how much we healed at the end of the turn thanks to Kai Goku. So I thought we were dead here. That's actually why you see that I have the Vegeta in slot 2, because I don't necessarily know like when like does the guard proc, can the guard lose mid-turn. There are certain things like that that I'm unfamiliar with, and you saw there we took 400,000 damage because he actually lowers defense on super attack, which is super sneaky. He always supers in slot 1, and he lowers your defense, so your most defensive unit is constantly going to be getting debuffed when they're in slot 1, which is another thing that this Omega does, which is super cheeky. Just wanted to throw that out there. But I actually put Vegeta here into slot 2 because I figured we wouldn't have our guard activated, but we got the heal, and I thought I didn't know. It probably was a misplay. I didn't need to do this, but at the time, I thought that he wouldn't have guard, so I wanted to try to float him off. He will actually be guarding, as you'll see here in just a second. And yet again, this Vegeta, if you're actually able to get to the blue form, which granted, it takes up until turn 9, so you're not seeing him super often. But if you are actually able to get there, and you saw there, we did have the guard activated. So if someone could please explain to me what exactly happened, that would be nice to know. That way I know for the future not to be afraid. But yeah, if you're able to get to turn 9, this Vegeta is actually very solid. He does good damage. He has decent defense as well. But yeah, you see there a 7 million attack stat on this Gohan. And he, I believe, launches an additional. Yep, and this is our dub right here. So that is going to be it. We beat it with full power and a no item run. I'm so proud of that. But yeah, I'm going to show our kits, and I'm going to show me collecting the the mission. But that's going to be all for this time, guys. I have been the SweetBro27. I'm a variety Twitch streamer and an up-and-coming YouTuber trying to make it big in the world. I have a Twitter, a Twitch, and a TikTok, the links of which can be found in the description of this video. And while you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, share me around, and leave me a comment. I'm going to try to get the final trump card run out as soon as possible, but I genuinely don't even know if it's possible with items. I will try my very best, so just keep your eyes peeled for that. And the burst mode video will be coming out tomorrow, so also be looking forward to that. But yeah, that is going to be all for this time, guys. So as always, I have been the SweetBro27, and I am signing off.